When I Israel?
B'ezrat Hashem, not this Monday, the Monday after. My daughter's due this Sunday.
In Israel or
Yeah, no, in Israel.
If you're going for the due date, it's a problem.
Yes, so we're relying on Hashem.
You're relying on the doctor.
Uh,
But this is it. If you have to make it, there's other general.
Yeah, no, we'll make it. It's just problem is if I have to change the flight, that's depending on when. It could be an issue. The cost might be way too much.
Good morning.
Morning. Have to mute. And I have to hear.
We said,
I mute.
Yeah.
Not a mute.
good morning. Good morning.
Morning, Rabbi Prague.
We mentioned last night. We mentioned last night that the Bet HaLevi runs out from here. The Koach of Leitzanut. Look carefully what Rashi says. Why is the Torah telling us that Avraham oledet Yitzchak? So Rashi says, כפי שהיו ליצני הדור אומרים, מאבימלך התעברה שרה. עכשיו, כמה שנים שעה עם אברהם, לא התעברה ימינו. They said it. Avraham Avinu had Ishmael, a very advanced age. What are people saying? The Bet HaLevi says that we can see that every community and every family, the minute to make a mockery of anything from a rabbi, the leader, the father, the boss, it makes no difference. Politicians are using it the best way they want, yes? Before any election, before anything happens, you spread some rumors that makes no sense if you are trying to find a base. So the Torah, otherwise it's very, very difficult. Yitzchak is foolish, so the Torah has to tell me Abraham already Yitzchak looks like Abraham. The obvious question, of course, is why is this pasuk written here in the beginning of Toldot? Why is it not written when Yitzchak is born? Yes, when Yitzchak is born, yes. Many commentators have a problem with that. That the question is, why do we have Chumash? The other question is, why do I need the lineage of Rivka here and the lineage of Rivka at the end of the parasha to tell you, yes, Chov ha'achim domim la'achei haben. Yes, choose a woman, check a brother. Yeah? Yes. Aaron marries Elisheva, Bat Aminadav, Achot Nachshon. Why is the brother has to do with the check carefully history for the next 1,000 years or 2,000 earlier to find all the seeds of good or bad. Here the Gemara gives Rivka the biggest compliment. The biggest compliment is even though she comes from family of Reshaim, she becomes Rivka. She remains Rivka. She becomes the mother of Yaakov. But of course, she is the mother of Yaakov and Esav because of that. ויתר יצחק להשם לנוכח אשתו. יתר is a very strong language. The Gemara in Masechet Sukkah, the shorish of atar, ayin, taf reish, is a forklift. The Gemara says the same way you're using the forklift to move packages from here to here, the tefillot of great people are changing situations, yes? So there are many Interesting.
Do you, Rabbi Prague, do you, in the davening, I don't know if the Sfardim have it, Ritzea tiratenu ka'olabecha karban, you say it right before Birkat Kohanim, right?
Right.
They picked that word, obviously, because it had a different connotation, I assume.
Remember, there are 10 languages of tefillah.
Right, we learned it in Vatchanan.
Languages of tefillah. Vayetar is not written in too many places, but here, the tefillah, what is lenochach ishto? Why is it important? If he prays in his corner and she prays in her room, you see the koach of tefillah, if you are praying in front of the choler. The main power of the Bikur Cholim is to pray in the room of the choler. But we mentioned last night, this is cute to say if you have little kids or those who like it. So Chaim Sonnenfeld says, Avraham Avinu dies 5 years early. He should not see his grandson Esav goes out. Yes. Which means that basically the tefillah to have children is that my grandfather died 5 years early. I mean, of course, Yitzchak doesn't know it, yeah? But the reality is, Hashem says, you really want a child? Are you sure? I'll give it to you.
And be careful what you pray for.
I mean, all the Gedolim, this is every time you push Gedolim to do something, sometimes you're killing yourself by getting the blessing. More close, yes. Here,
they say that it was better. So if Yitzchak never had children, we wouldn't be
if
here.
Yitzchak would have children 5 years later, Abraham would live 180 instead of 170. The reason why Abraham had to die at 175, not 180 like Yitzchak, is because otherwise he has to see his grandson becoming what he became. So we mentioned last night, look how Chazal are looking and having this type of a child. You're better off dying and being buried. And Abraham Avinu every day in his life, I'm not the rabbis, Abraham Avinu, 5 years of his life should be cut short not to see the Esav. How many parents we know have Esav? It's not so much there, so much the fault. Yes.
Right, the lesson to learn from here is don't push too hard, don't pray too hard for something when you
If things are not being given to you, don't push because you might dig your own kever early. Your demise, your health, your this is very famous.
how does one know how far you should pray, how much?
This is why you have real Gedolei Ador, not Mekubalim. Real Gedolei Ador know exactly what to say.
Rabbi, can you say here that the tefillot of Yitzchak are answered for a child, but with Rachel the Yaakov, the tefillot of Rachel are answered?
It's a good comment. Let's read the Rashi first and see why is Hashem listening to Yitzchak. Look at the Rashi. Rashi says on the left column on page 124, Vayater lo Hashem. Rashi says, it's on the fifth line. Vayater lo velo la. Hashem listens to him. It's page 124. לפי שאין דומה תפילת צדיק בן רשע לתפילת צדיק בן צדיק. Everyone reads it, oh, of course, Yitzchak is the son of Abraham, but she is the son of Rasha. This is the simple pshat. This is the simple pshat. In reality, why should the tefillah of a tzaddik, that his father is a tzaddik, be accepted more? Maybe at the contemplation be the other.
That's right.
Someone
She's a much
someone is a child of a drug addict, a gambler, womanizer, and he prays. Says Simcha Zilsman Mikael, listen to stuff that cannot be. It's not what you actually should. It says as follows.
That's the son of Alter.
This is the Alter himself.
Son.
This is the Alter himself.
Oh.
circumcision be Kelem. Whatever Kelem was began by one man, circumcision, all shot. He says as follows, here it is. It's much easier on the long run to be a tzaddik, the son of a rasha. You see that your father is a zero, it becomes a double zero, triple zero, there's nothing to emulate. Of course it pushes you to become someone special. Yes, to be Yitzchak, the son of Abraham, is much harder.
Crazy challenge.
Because Yitzchak is not following his father like we have today. His father was a rabbi, the son has to be the rabbi. Okay, so in today's position, it's halachot of Yerusha. And it's very difficult to be Yitzchak and having a father Abraham, and you grow to greatness on your own. It is. Yitzchak became Yitzchak despite the fact.
Also Yaakov.
It's very the same exactly by Yaakov. Despite the fact, so which means Abraham shows the Yitzchak the general way. You see clearly that the way Abraham is running his life, Yitzchak is running his life, and Yaakov is running his life are totally different. Yes, Abraham. This is why by Tefillah every day. You ever think about it? Elokei Abraham, Elokei Yitzchak. Why do we say Elokei 3 times?
Each individual on their own.
He's not the God of Yitzchak because he's the God of Abraham. Yitzchak got there on his own. Of course, the father has to show you the way. In today's day and age, if you don't stick very strong to your parents' teachings or the heritage of your family, who knows where you end up. Judaism looks to me like a kilayim, like a mule, like whatever you want, but not Judaism. Right? It's very difficult to. The answer is. So look at second and Rashi. Eino domeh tefillat tzaddik ben tzaddik. Yes, it's much harder to be the tzaddik ben tzaddik. This is why he's tefillot. El tefillot, of course, having a father Lavan, having a grandfather Betuel, living among crooks. Of course, you have to become what you become. So let's see now, Eli, what was your comment from Rachel?
Rachel, who says Yaakov wasn't praying to her to the intensity because he had other children.
Over there we speak every year, you know the Ramban there, you know the commentaries. Yaakov says to Rachel something very simple. My grandfather didn't have any children. So my grandfather felt the need to become a father to carry the heritage of Abraham much stronger than I am. I have children already, yes. This is what he is telling you. He's not taking away. He says, my grandfather is Yitzchak. He doesn't have children. He must have children. And as we mentioned last night, look at the pasuk. Vayatar Yitzchak laHashem ki akarai. How do you know she's barren? Maybe you are married. The answer is Yitzchak knows. I know for sure that I'm going to have children. Because Hashem promised Abraham and Hashem promised me too. His tefillot are, I want my children with her. So you realize Eli what Yaakov is telling Rachel. All the blessings I got from my father as I left to find children are being fulfilled already, yes. Of course I want children from you. But I'm not as eager as Yitzchak. Yitzchak doesn't have any.
So therefore, as we says, Hashem remembers Rachel. So he's answering Rachel, not.
This is Vayichal Rav Yaakov v'Rachel. However, Chachamim are unhappy. Why is he using? Why is the Lashon Vayichal? The Gemara says Chayecha kach onim et haveukot. She's a woman that suffers. Use a different language or different words. But the urgency that Yitzchak feels, Yaakov didn't feel. You realize we mentioned last night the history of the war is being born here, yes? ויאמר השם לה שני גויים במקנך, שני לאומים ממעייך יפרדו, ולאום ולאום לאמץ, Rabbi Avot saying this. Basically, she learns that here she carries two nations. Edom is Russia. Edom is China, yes. In every generation we have Edom. But later we know that this blessings, yes, when Yaakov gives the brachot, comes out of this. If Yaakov, which is represented by us, a few million other Jews, right, is rising to the level that Hashem wants us to do, Yaakov, Esav cannot do anything. Yes, all the problems that we have, in the Galut, you can go back 500 years ago when 99.9% of the Jews were religious, but the problem, we are responsible for any anti-Semitism, we are responsible for every pogroms we have. It's not, today it's small, unfortunately, our lost brothers and sisters, but this is what she's being told. The question is, who did she go to consult? So Jojo says, she says, Shem. Eben Ezra says she went to Abraham. It doesn't say to whom. And we said last night that if you look in the commentators, they say later, Vayikra et Shmo. They are bold. Who names him Yaakov? He said, Vayikra et Shmo. With the math, David, Vayikra et Shmo says, Barat. Who is Abraham? Abraham is the one that gave him the name Yaakov. She went to Abraham. The real big question, of course, is.
Yitzchak? No.
I said Abraham, and it says Abraham.
His grandchildren. He named
Abraham named him
Abraham
Yaakov.
David, Abraham is the one that told the Shtegoyim. And when she gave birth, Abraham names Yaakov. All the questions that everyone is asking. Eben Ezra says it. The question is, if you carefully examine the relationship between Abraham and Sarah, Yitzchak and Rivka, Yaakov and Rachel and Leah, you don't see too much conversations. She is doing what she knows is right, and she's very heroic, and she's doing behind the scene what has to be done. Why is that? So the Netziv says that she realized from the beginning that the husband is at a totally different level. Remember, she's much younger. She understands that he has to do what he has to do, but I have to do what I have to do. I mean, otherwise, why shouldn't she tell her husband, he wants to kill me. Yeah? Our other son, Esav, wants to kill Yaakov. He's telling it to Yaakov. She feels that she cannot, when it comes to the brachot, why didn't she tell him? I know what you're doing, but I think the brachot should go to Yaakov. But the truth is, everyone agrees, and she knew also that the brachot should go to Esav. But she knew that Esav would use it the wrong way. Not that she believed that Yaakov deserved the brachot. By us, everyone would like to have comfortable life. Comfortable doesn't mean to have 3 homes in 3 continents. Because she felt that she cannot really say, כך אומר הנציב. You mentioned last night, look a second at the description. ויהי עשיו, איש יודע ציד משדה, יעקב איש תם יושב אוהלים. See, איש ציד is a regular businessman. You might be walking in Manhattan, you might be a hunter, you might be a military man. You have to decide what you do with your trade. What is number 1 on your list? The Ishtaid, the power, the fame. So the Torah says Ishtaid, Isadeh, Esav sold himself. This is Wahem. Yaakov, Ishtam, Yoshev Ohavim. Look a second in Rashi, what is Ishtam? Larry, what is Tam? Look at the Rashi. Ishtam And she says, "Eino baki b'chol eilo." He doesn't know all the tricks that Esav has. Ela kelibo כן פיו. מי שאינו חריף לרמות קרוי איתם, יוד רש"י. A man that is not cheating his tongue. Yeah? A tomboy. But we see later in the parasha that Yaakov knows very well how to trick. Yaakov is coming to buy the blessings. This is why the Torah says Ishtam, when it's important to be Ishtam. When he's Yoshev Oharim. When the Ishtam is dealing with the Esav, there are many Esav in every generation, in every society. Yaakov can very well use.
Rabbi,
Yes.
why does the next pasuk have to say that that Yitzhak loved Esav and because he hunted it, and then Rivka
Rivka ohevet et Yaakov.
why over there? And why even? And really, what's the true meaning of?
What exactly you want there? Yitzchak knows exactly
Who Esav
who
is?
Esav is.
Still loves the sons.
Not only that. I mean, in the modern terminology, we said in Israel today, I'm talking about the past homes of Israel, not the business. In Beit HaShorim, thousands of families, and the boys and the girls were not. How would you treat them? So I was teaching us, Yitzchak, whoa, the meat that you prepare me. The only anchor to make sure that it doesn't go away. I mean, this is the dilemma that parents today have. What to do? It's affecting other children.
Did you tell us the stories? The boy would come to Friday night dinner.
Right, exactly.
Father's trying to keep himself in the fold.
But Kitzayit Befiv, okay, but Kitzayit Befiv means he basically came every day to serve his father. And this is definitely a reason to be Mekarevi. But as far as Yitzchak, until it's also I mentioned yesterday, ויגדלו הנערים ויהי עשיו איש יודע צעד ישדה ויעקב ישתם ושבע ערים. We live in a society that all our kids have to fit in the same size shoe, the same shoe in the same house. Rav Hirsch says the Torah is, according to Rav Hirsch, the Torah is criticizing Yaakov and Rivka. ויגדלו הנערים, suddenly you see, hey, he's not really so much for learning, he's
You said that.
you should have recognized it 5 years ago and slowly teach him ככה אומר הרש. ויגדלו הנערים. Suddenly you realize this is already too late to bring it to the field. Yes, good parents can tell right away. It takes a lot of guts very often. It's very difficult to admit reality. The reality is there. Hirsch is מעריך מאוד בזה.
Shimshon Raphael Hirsch.
What?
Shimshon Raphael Hirsch.
עכשיו זה רפאל.
Wow.
No, but it is today's day and age, then you see it, forget America. America is talk about in every family, go to the best families. In Lakewood, go to the best families. It is the best with the mother and the father are Torets, Moses. What happened?
So you can't have a leak de Louis say. You can't have one size fits all.
One size fits all is one of the.
The rabbis tell us that father should lead his son in the direction that he wants to go.
What?
But the question is, if he's going in the wrong direction, we're in the right direction, but not necessarily the same direction.
Let's focus now on the few hours, a few minutes, whatever it is, before Yaakov makes his proposal. Pasuk Chavtet. ויזד נער יעקב נזיר, ויבוא עשיו מן השדה והוא עייף. Keep in mind Esav is a Bechor. Esav knew his grandfather 15 years. This is the day that you find out that your grandfather is dying, yes? Right? Now you're coming very tired from Manhattan, and your grandfather is dead. Shouldn't you run to your father and cry and give him a hug? Look what the Torah is describing. ויעזד יעקב לזיו, ויבוא עשיו מן השדה והוא עייף, ויאמר עשיו אל יעקב אל יתני נא מן האדום הזה, כי עייף אנוכי. Look at the Rashi brings it. Look at the Rashi.
When Rashi says ayef, right? Ayef from reflexa. I mean, obviously, he's saying he's killing people. What does it mean he's killing people? I mean, who is he killing? I mean, they're saying it like casually almost.
If you want to look at the Rashbam, מה זה יעקב, מה זה עשיו, איש צעד, איש שדה. Says the question that everyone grapples is, the Torah already told us before, he said, suddenly you're giving me a list of atrocities that he's doing with women and others. He did it in the Sadeh before. He was hiding it. This is Ish Sadeh.
Yeah.
Now, Esav is 15. Look at the Rashi. Look at the Rashi. Rashi says, עליתני נא מן האדום, חדשים אדומות, everyone knows it, red lentils. באותו היום מת אברהם, שלא יראה את עשיו בן בנו, יוצר תרבות רעי, should not see his grandson becoming not religious. באיזו שיבה טובה שיבטחו הקדוש ברוך הוא, אשר promised him שיבה טובה. לפיכך, קיצר הקדוש ברוך הוא 5 years from his year, Hashem took 5 years. יצחק lived 180. אברהם 175. ובישל יעקב עדשים להברות את העבר. Okay, so she explains, I think for a minute you're coming, regardless if Ayef means tired or not, he's coming and he's right away to the kitchen. Can't you go to the bedroom, sit on the floor, cry for 5 minutes? The Torah here is describing a human being. The human being is, it's me, and only me. The old man is gone, he's gone. I'm hungry now, I'm hungry. Anyone the day his grandfather would die might be very hungry, and he wants very much to eat, but he understands that to push my hunger until I express what I feel. The Torah is telling us the definition of Esav. Aliteni na min ha'adom. Adom means, aliteni means just pour the food into me. Esav is a description of a man that is interested in the moment, right away, yes. We are afraid to look at it, yes. Remember, every this type of personality happens. Esav's everywhere. We have a little Esav also, yes. Question is, how much are we training ourselves to look at what has to be done, not what I want now, but otherwise, what is our Kekarash Moedom? Only because he said, let me have, I'm very hungry, can I have a pizza? There's nothing wrong with that. Give me the pizza where your father is sitting Shiva and you're not doing anything. This is Adom. This is the description of the world out there. Yes? Look carefully, you understand? And listen to something very, very important now. ויאמר יעקב אל עשיו, נכרק היום את בכורתך. We want to remember this. In a minute you'll see, ויאמר עשיו, הנה אנוכי הולך למות. Remember, we know the story from a young age. You never think about it, Rani. Who gives Yaakov the legal rights to sell his father's food and buy the Bechorah?
It doesn't sound like you can. Oh. It's not up to him.
Yeah. What do you mean you're coming home tonight? You say, okay, well,
You're selling,
I have a table
you're
and a
selling-
tray,
Yours to sell.
a tray of a
No,
cowboy
you're selling
tape.
your
I'm
parents'
selling it
food.
to David for his work.
Is it his father's food?
Rabbi,
What do you mean?
Rabbi,
This is his house.
This is-
Rabbi, you just said that Esav was 15 at the time, right? And Abraham is ready to pass on, and he's 175, which means Yitzchak is 75 years old, right? So the later on, you're telling me it's 100 years later that Yaakov gets the beracha from Yitzchak, and Esav is still not remembering what happened 100 years ago.
Oh,
No,
okay.
it's not
It's
that
not
late.
exactly
It's not
100
that
years. It's about 50, 60 years. You know what I mean? Look how-
No, he's 75, Rabbi. If Abraham had Yitzchak at 100.
No, but
in a minute, I'll go to the dates in a half a second.
Okay.
So the question is, what is he making a deal here on food that doesn't belong to him? Listen carefully. Each one of us said already Shiva. What is the first meal that you're being served by? Who serves it?
It's not the homeowner.
The meal is not cooked by you, by your family.
Right.
Now, which type of a meal is Yaakov doing? Yitzchak had to give the meal a gift, the kinyan. Yaakov, you are the boss of this meal. It's not yours.
Okay, Seudat Avraham.
Seudat Avraham cannot be completed. What he is preparing has to be food being
definition.
served by others. The others here are Yaakov. How can Yaakov is sitting in the kollel? Where does he have the money? He gave him the food. If he gave him the food, now it became his. This is why he can make a deal with Esav. Yes. Otherwise, you have no. Ask anyone you want. You're making deals with the father's money.
So the guests come over to Beit Avel and they make the bread and the egg that they give to the Avelim. But the food is in the house, so technically they acquired the food to give
This creates a big problem if you're not aware. Every Avel that I go to, hundreds of pounds of food is being thrown in the garbage because everyone loves to show that he cares and he sends a package of food.
Yeah.
The question is, can the Avelim now give it to others instead of throwing it in the garbage?
no, we didn't give it to
Oh,
others.
because they have any?
Because the rule is you don't take food from Beit Avel.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in places we got, who to speak to, you say, when the food is being delivered, and 5 breakfasts are being for 5 restaurants, 10 lunches, and 25 suppers.
Condition.
Don't accept it on a condition. We're not making it food of Beit Avel.
Yeah,
This is the right way to
So they don't
do
own it.
it. Halachically correct. Okay. Anyway, the reason I'm saying it to you, look carefully.
But it's
What?
no, but that the food that comes afterwards is really for the family. We always say it for
So
the
the
family.
custom is you don't take anything from Beit Avel.
Don't take it
My
home.
brother-in-law died a couple of months ago. He got a few books, so my nephew took 2 boxes of his books and he wanted to give it to people never saw. The guy says, I would love to have it. You don't take anything from the house of the
Don't.
Even items, not food.
Why are you
Just limited
saying
food.
Shiva?
Oh, while it's in the
Anyway, he says after Shiva, if you want, I'll be very happy to receive it. And then give you an example. If this is not your custom, it's fine. Anyway, listen carefully. Pasuk, page 128. Vayomer Yaakov Yishavar Mipayor. Okay, so we spoke this week, but perhaps the Shua is needed because there is a big halachic problem is, what is Esav selling? He's selling something he doesn't have. He's selling something he doesn't have. Okay, so the 2 brings from his father that Davar shelo ba la'olam kinyan en shvua helps. So then we spend
He's not the Bechor, or is
No,
he
there's
doesn't
no,
have?
there's
I
no.
cannot sell you the fruit of my orchard that we grow with 2 years from.
Or is it is the only
There's
function
no-
that he's
there's no
gonna inherit
inheritance yet.
the double share, and therefore he
It's
doesn't
not
inherit
only
yet?
this, not only
What else?
Rashi says that Yaakov basically wants to buy the Avodah in Beit HaMikdash. This is hundreds
It
of
didn't
years
happen
later.
yet,
It's not-
even though by DNA.
Okay,
he's
so we
the
spend,
Bechor.
there are books and books and pages to answer the question. But Vayimkor et Bechorato Yaakov, very nice. The Yaakov natan le'Esav lechem
Not just that.
We spoke about where was the bread? Why is the bread part of the deal? Why is he giving the bread? He's giving him Italian bread. Why? Vayochal, Vayesh, Vayakam, Vayelech, Vayivez, Esav, and we don't pay attention. We have the vision of it. So the Beit HaLevi, a very famous Beit HaLevi, says this is what Yaakov is doing. Yaakov is afraid that 10 years later, as of course it happened, Esav comes back and says, you tricked me. You took me, I had a weak moment, I was very tired, and then you said, okay, this is why I agreed. This is not to say, take a full Italian bread, stuff yourself like a goose. Are you still willing to sell? Yaakov Natan Esav lechem first. You are not hungry, you're not hungry anymore.
Under
Then-
stress.
And the Zizad Hashim, this way he took off this. Of course, what gives them the right to give him the bread is what we said before, because Yaakov is in charge now of the meal. And the same way that the Zizad Hashim is being served in Beit Abel, everyone knows you have balls, round walls. Rashi brings it also. Vayochal, Vayesh, Vayakam, Vayelech, Vayivez.
So you're saying
Why-
the Bez is because he had the lechem first.
Why is the Torah concluding this sale by Yivez? You see,
He's not such a victim.
you see how the Art Scroll explains the words
Spurned.
spelled. Why is it necessary, Rani, by the end of the sale? Because you can look on it and have anything you want, Nathan. Yaakov is doing it very wise. It's legal, whatever you want. But I cannot sell you on a state of $200 for ice cream. I have a very special ice cream. You're dying to have it. Okay, listen carefully. David, this is-
Think that he's getting better of a deal?
Listen carefully. This is very famous. One of the big. It happened. The story happened anyway. But the rabbi who used it. A fellow had to marry a few. We have no today idea what it means to be poor. But he comes to a real great Hasidic master. So the rabbi says to him, listen, how much money do you have in your pocket? Let's say, he said 5 rubles. Let's say $50. He says the first deal that anyone offers you, your $50, 5 rubles. He goes on a train, and on the train you have a group of very successful business people coming from a very successful trip. And this guy looks at the Chazid, this scam guy. So one of the big business people says to his friend, let me show you how I make a quick buck. He comes to the guy and he says to the guy, I would like to sell you my Olamama. How much money do you have in your pocket? The guy remembers the rabbi, $50. Okay. But the guy says, write it down. So I have a contract that Mr. So and so for 5 rubles. So, very cute. The guy made up these tens of thousands of dollars to marry off his daughter. He comes home and he tells his wife his success, and then he says, and guess what? I got, fine. Just sold the Olam Haba, get out of the house.
It's my Olam Haba.
I'm not going to be with you. It's a partnership. The guy realized this is serious business. He goes back to the guy and he says, here's your $5. He says, let me tell you the truth. I agreed because the rabbi told me, let's go to the rabbi. This is good. This is good. The rabbi says to him, man has 2 daughters to marry off. Take upon yourself, and he's asking the guy, take upon yourself to do it. The guy says, Rabbi, I paid 5 rubles for it, and I'm going, you want it back or not? Obviously, the guy has no choice. He does it, fine. Then the guy tells to the rabbi, he says, okay, I have no choice, I did it. Come on. He says, I bought it for 5 rubles.
Yeah, what was it?
you got paid for it whenever
What was the
Give it-
value to you?
it is. Paying the marry off the $2 is the best value ever made because you got a lot. Then in the on the train, made a joke was 5 rubles. Here with the Torah. Listen, this is the Omega Pshat in the Chumash. Vayivez Esav et HaBechorah. We are asking, you're selling an estate of $300 for an ice cream cone? For him,
Nothing worth nothing.
it's nothing. It's a candy. This is why the Torah concludes that it's more.
That's what it was really worth.
Better. You got much more. I mean, Esav walks away.
Thinking he got the better part of the
I got
deal.
the better. My hand is on the top.
He walked out, he didn't linger. Oh, I'm not sure that he walked out.
Then why did he come to regret it?
Later, you
The
know.
same as the person that regretted when you had to pay to marry off to do it.
So Rasha, he didn't
What do you
believe, so
know?
maybe he didn't.
What do you mean why? When he comes, listen carefully what he's telling his father. When Yaakov is doing whatever he has to do because his mother is pushing him to do it. Look a second what he's telling his father. Look a second a little later. Look at page 138, it's Perek Chav Zayin. פסוק ל"ד, כשמוע עשיו את דברי אביו, נתן לו יעקב טובין ויצעק צעקה גדולה ומרה עד מאוד. ויאמר לאביו,
Why is Yaakov punished for this?
in a second, good.
If he did the transaction.
Nathan has a good point in a second. ויאמר בא אחיך במרמה ויקח ברכתך. Listen what Esav tells his father.
Yeah.
ויאמר אחי קרא שמו יעקב, his name is Yaakov, for no reason. ויעקבני זה פעמיים, את בכורתי לקח, והנה אתה לקח את ברכתי. He's telling his father, I sold him the בכורה, you sold it. And because you sold it, the bracha is anyway not yours. Yes? The bracha is not yours. Now Nathan has a very important question. If everything, the way we explain, I mean, it's not me, of course, it's only Rishonim and all the Achronim. And remember again, from a young age, we look at ourselves, we would never do it. Because we are never honest. Honesty is to do what has to be done now, yes? Esav doesn't deserve it. The mother says, I have to, listen carefully now. Look carefully what the Pasuk says. It says, ויצעק צעקה גדולה ומרה עד מאוד. 5 words are describing the Gemara says in Masechet Megillah that Mordechai found out what Haman is going to do, ויצא ברחוב העיר, ויצעק צעקה גדולה ומרה עד מאוד. So the Gemara says, you know why Mordechai is screaming? Because of Esav. Everything is legal here. Listen carefully. Everyone agrees that Yaakov had to do what he had to do. But at least tell your mom, I feel the pain of my brother. Yeah, we dealt with the legality of the sale. Legal. But Yaakov has a choice, and he doesn't have a choice because his mother says to him, I have a prophecy, you have to do it. But at least feel bad for your mother for not feeling bad. This is why Mordechai, hundreds of years later, because after all, you did cause a real pain to your brother.
But Rabbi, if your mother tells you to do an avon, and the avon is contradictory to halakha, like if your father tells you,
Who said it was Avon?
Because
we're saying if there was an
because
avon.
we are Americans that we teach from A to Z every day, but we have a holiday. He was obligated, he was a mitzvah.
Right, it's not Avon.
I have a prophecy. What to tell Avon? What's the Avon?
There's no Avon.
Father is being tricked daily by his son. So this is what's the Avon? Abba wants it. And let me tell you another point if you want for tonight's table after the turkey. If Esav would have done it, Yaakov is legally asur le'echol it. You know why? Because Esav is a Rashan, is Shchita, is Neveila. And Yaakov really wants to save his father from eating a Neveila also. So this word avon is when you're in kindergarten, maybe in elementary school, in high school, you have to remove it, yes? What do you mean?
Rabbi, if you said the shechita is not, if you said the shechita is not good, you fed him
Please
before.
go out, make sure that your knife is sharp, like a kosher shochet. But you're doing an averah that day that makes you disqualified for 5 reasons to be a shochet. So the avon that you thought is A, he's saving his father for eating non-kosher, but real non-kosher. B, his mother says, I have an avon. We don't love to hear it this way, but in reality, the bracha never materialized, yes? But if you look at the Bet HaLevi, Rivka says, and the book has to say, all the blessings belongs to Yaakov, which means that when we are mechaper and when we are melamed zechut of Yaakov, one of the biggest limud zechut for the generation is we do speak lashon hara, we cheat a lot of business. A lot of it is because of the poverty. Most of the sincere religious Jews for generations lived in poverty. Why are we in poverty? Because of Esav. Esav doesn't let us. So this is why Rivka, is insisting. This is why Rivka is insisting on at least on the book having the berachot. Listen carefully. I'm finishing with this. Yitzchak is suspected. Vayigash Yaakov and Yitzchak. And he says, can I, and he says, can I touch your hands? Listen carefully to the pasuk. He's touching him and he makes the following statement. Hakol, Kol Yaakov. The voice is Yaakov. V'hayadayim, the Esav. Ve'lo yikiro, he didn't recognize him because his hands felt like Esav. You're giving the blessing of history, and you're not sure, you have a contradiction. The voice is one word, Yaakov. The hands are Esav, and you give the blessing, say, hey, stop the show. Let's call outsiders. Who is in the room? Says the Bet HaLevi, Esav being Esav, the crook of crooks. Listen good now. When his father sent him to the mission, says Esav to his father, Daddy, I'm afraid that my brother Yaakov might come and try to take it away from me. So what should we do? If he comes, he would definitely change his voice to sound like me. So I'm telling you, the secret sign between me, Esav, and you is the call has to be a Kol Yaakov. Yes. So it says, so you're not reading it Hakol Kol Yaakov by Yadayim Esav is a wonder. Esav says, Yitzchak says everything fits perfect. The voice is the voice of Yaakov. As Esav told me, let's do it. Confirmation.
So he basically created
a double sketch.
He created Yaakov's way of getting the beracha. He actually assisted more than he knows.
And then when you're afraid of the sin, what happened, Hashem is arranging it. It's exactly what the double sketch was arranged by Hashem for Yaakov to get the brachot.
That's like Leah and Rachel.
Rabbi, how many years later is I'm having trouble with that. It sounds like it's 100 years later, Rabbi. It's a long time after.
Yeah,
and
it's exactly okay. So I told you before. You know how old Yaakov is? Yaakov, when he leaves his parents, is 68. So it's exactly 50 years later. So right now, yes, right now, Esav is 15, Yaakov is 15. When he leaves, he's 63. Remember, the reason I'm saying 63 is why? Because when he spent 14 years by Shem Ve'ever, he's 73. So all over the Chumash, you see the Rashi, Midrash, and the Pasuk. When he arrives by Lavan, he's 73. 50 years later, the Torah shows us Esav cannot forget it. Not only because the brachot were taken, as Esav cannot take the fact that his little Kamim brother pulled the rug from under him. The perfect way, his way.
So basically, Rabbi, Esav,
I think they said
Can't-
49
didn't-
before I said it for you.
he not only sold him the beracha, he not only did everything, he actually helped them get it.
He created the atmosphere of the bracha.
It's amazing.
And we
Amazing.
we are afraid that he's doing. This is
That's Hashem's hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone to Shabbat will see each other.
Shabbat shalom, Rabbi. Shabbat shalom.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Rabbi. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom, everyone.